What's good, YouTube? It's Holy1, and this is going to be my first episode of Life Behind the Joy-Con and my experiences growing up with video games and consoles and how they revolutionized my life as we know it now. So let's start off with my earliest memories that I can think of, and that was my first two systems. My first system I got back in 1995. It was the Game Boy, and I was only 3 years old at the time when my parents got me the system. I was born in 92, so I was about 3 when my parents got me the system. We went to this old mom and pop shop. They had like the section that was dedicated to like gaming. They had like the old retro systems over in a corner. Then they'd have all the VCR tapes that we would rent from the store, and they'd have all the new hot systems out in display. And I remember being this little kid going into the store, and I saw the Game Boy, and I took it up to my mom and dad, and I said, "What is this?" And the retailer said, "Hey, yo, that system is Nintendo's new hottest handheld. It's really revolutionary." And my parents were like, "Go pick out a game." So I walked around the store. I saw Blastoise on the front cover of Pokemon Blue. I grabbed it and I said, "I want the one with the turtle on it," because I loved reptiles when I was younger. So I took that home. My parents, I didn't even know how to read at the time, and I still managed to get through all that. I managed to get through that game and catch them all at the same time. And that game was amazing. That's definitely in my top 5, top 10 greatest games of all time. Facts. Pokemon Blue is revolutionary for me. And growing up, life wasn't easy for me. Being an autistic child made life difficult for me, as well as having Tourette's. That was not an easy upbringing. And my parents were strong Catholic / Protestant family. So if they saw anything weird, that's why I kept my games to myself. If they saw anything like that's why Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of almost banned in my household, because they saw like the souls being pulled from the characters in the show, and they're like, "That's gonna corrupt my child's mind." But as a kid, I was like, even I could tell the difference between fiction and reality. Like, I grew up playing action figures, collecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards, all these great things, and all the usual stuff 90s kids plays, watching those cartoons, and I was like whatever. My Game Boy was my best friend in elementary school. I remember playing Pokemon. I remember starting elementary school. I picked up, I got the Game Boy Color because my dog chewed up my the old Game Boy that didn't have the color, and I got Pokemon Yellow with it and Pokemon Gold. And man, I was like blown away that they managed to put Pokemon Kanto and Johto in the same region, because I was like, "Oh, Johto's cool," and I beat the game and I fought the Elite Four, and I looked at the map and I was like, "Oh, cool, I can go to Johto as well." And I eventually got Silver and Crystal. Crystal was awesome. And when I went to school, all the kids, like, if I sat at a table in elementary school at the table, no matter if it was the bullies, the jocks, or whoever, even if the girls, if I sat at that table, all of them would get up and walk away. They just get up, move to another table. And it was kind of depressing for me. So I would pull out my Game Boy. I'd put that thing on. I'd play some Pokemon. Or I would play, what was that old game? I had Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That was a dope game. And I remember my mother got me Harvest Moon 3 and Rubik's Cube Robots, Everyone's Racing Robots, or something like that. So I had those, and I played them at the lunch table because the other kids obviously wanted to avoid me because I was weird and I didn't put up with other people's shit. So on top of that, the kids kept to themselves. Even the bullies would avoid me, which was weird. And yeah, so that was definitely not fun at all. Yeah, elementary school was kind of ass. Even the teachers, they stuck me in the regular class, and I was a smart ass kid. Like, I was getting, like, you could give me a math problem, I could do it without a calculator. But the teachers, they didn't care. They weren't being paid to care. So if I wanted to play my system, I would be like, yo, what the fuck? Oh, the bullies. What's funny is the bullies would curse me out. They'd call me like so here's what you gotta do. I was a smart ass kid, right? I was like so I used my wits to to kind of, I wasn't friends with the bullies per se, but let's just say I could perform services for them, no homo, of course. That would get me off the hook with them. Avoid eating dirt or shit like that. So since I was this big Pokemon, like Pokemon was, but people don't realize this. Pokemon was the shit. In elementary school back in that day. So I knew all the tricks to like there was the glitch where you could clone Pokemon in silver and gold. And so I told one of the bullies how to do this, and I said, "Hey, yo, you got that Pokemon game?" And he's like, "Yeah, you little." He's like, "Yeah, you little fucker." Why? I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll tell you how to clone all those legendaries if you tell the other bullies to lay off on me for the year." And he's like, "All right." And then I did that, and because the bullies really didn't give a fuck. Like I wasn't one of those nerds who was wearing the glasses and get tripped over all those things. I was like the autistic weirdo that was in the special ed class. And people don't realize is bullies don't pick on the special ed kids. Like that's just that's just the thing. The bullies aren't going to go after the special ed kids. And so I wasn't friends with any of them, and I didn't really have friends in elementary school. So I would have my Game Boy system with me. That was like my lifeblood. Even though and my Game Boy Color was the transparent purple one. That thing was awesome. Like the transparency to it was cool. And I would go to, even if there was like a blackout in the school, I have the little accessory where you put the little light on the side, and I'd light up the screen and be like, I am not playing in the dark, because back then we didn't have light up screens. So being an autistic child in normal school, they put me in the special needs class, and God, it was like, there was this one girl, she was like drooling, half like brain dead in a wheelchair. And they're like, we got a hamster. And like the kids in there were dumb as shit. No disrespect to people with disabilities, but like, yeah, the teachers didn't give a shit. Like if you like, okay, the teachers at school would be like, yo, we don't give a fuck about our job. But if they're in public, they're like, oh, hi, it's our student. We're good to see you. And I'm like, yeah, you don't give a shit about me. Like, you're not getting paid to care. You're not getting paid to care. So when that was all said and done, my Game Boy got me through some hard times. And not just my Game Boy, but PC gaming in general. Like before I went to the second grade, I was in the first grade, just regular first grade, and I had a teacher named Mr. Norris. And no BS. The dude looked like Chuck Norris, like a miniature version of Chuck Norris. He looked kind of like him, and his name was Mr. Norris too. And he had this he had like this old ass computer. And I remember firing it up in the classroom, playing like the old Jurassic Park game on that. And I would, instead of going, if I was on lunch break, we're in lunch period, I would just eat food on the table and just play Jurassic Park, moving around the thing, trying to kill the raptors or avoid them. Yeah, that was dope. And then that wasn't the only thing. If like when I remember going through the halls when we had a book fair, reading, what was that thing called? Underwear, pajama, the dude in the underwear, whatever his name was. He had the plunger. He was like a big comic thing. It'll come to me. Put him through. I was reading that. So I was taking my Game Boy through the hallway. I was looking at it because I was the dumb kid looking at the screen. And then I bumped into someone. It was a girl. And then she screamed. And then I kind of put I kind of pulled a muscle on my neck. So my neck was kind of sideways the whole time. I went to the nurse's office, and the nurse said, go back to class. You're fine. She thought I was faking it because, people with disabilities back then, they didn't take us seriously. So I went back to class. My neck hurt. Trying to move it, it really hurt too. And I said, all right, I'm going to have to bear through this. Like the other kids, they didn't give a shit. They just looked at me like, whatever, it's that kid. He's just wandering through the halls. So I remember playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories on my Game Boy Color. I was playing that heavy. And I went home. So yeah, that's pretty much my school life with the Game Boy Color. When it comes to my home life, I remember we got my brother had my brother had a gaming PC, but My family got the PlayStation 1 in 1997. Now, I remember playing some great classics on there. Some trash games my parents got me, but I remember playing some dope games on that system. So the games I remember playing, and this is the the usual classics like Crash Bandicoot. Oh, fucking amazing! I remember putting so much time in those games. I 100%ed them. Crash 2 is still my favorite. Never finished Crash 3 on the old system, but I remember playing Crash 1 and 2. God, that was so much fun. And me and my brother would compete to see who could complete whatever first, because he was like, I was like 5 at the time, and he was probably like 3, so he didn't even know how to play it right. So I would laugh at him and say, "Ha, you can't get the gems. The gems are too hard. He could get the crystals, but he could never get the gems." And then I remember getting Spyro. Didn't play Spyro 3, played Spyro 2 and 1. Spyro was freaking amazing. That's Insomniac's like best game. I was just like a collectathon with the gems. I was like, oh man, Spyro was just so good. It was just so good. And then the one game that got my dad addicted to the PS1, I don't know if any of you guys have played this. It was Digimon World. And it was Digimon World 3 and 2. And whatever, that game was like turn-based greatness on the PS1. Digimon World, if you guys have me later, go check that game out. It got so bad that my brother got so jealous that he deleted my dad's save file or the cartridge. He got rid of the cartridge. My dad freaked out because he put like 100 hours in that game. And my mother was, and then at that point, my brother sabotaged the PS1 and broke the disc tray, so it wouldn't read discs anymore. And that was the only time my dad really played video games. But other than that, I remember playing other games on it that my dad got. He got X-Men Children of the Atom. I remember playing X-Men Children of the Atom. That game was dope. It didn't look great, but it played great. Like, it just played good. I remember there was another game. It was like Hogs of War. That's a game my dad played on there. And then my mother got me this game that I don't really care for. It's called Harvest Moon Back to Nature, which I didn't get 2 fucks about. And then that game I played on the computer I mentioned earlier, I eventually got it for the PS1. It was called The Lost World of Jurassic Park. That game was awesome. And of course, let's not forget what my avatar is, the game that made me who I am as a person, Gex. Now, Gex, I never owned on our family system, but my grandfather had a PS1 at his house, and every time I went over there, I would boot up Gex and play that, and just I remember playing. I think if you guys don't know what Gex is, think of the gameplay like Cuphead but harder. And it's a great platformer. It's got that 90s humor. Gex is funny as hell. And then if you want to save the game, there was no you could beat this game without a memory card. You had to write down a code in order to continue in the game. Yeah, that game was fun. And then I remember playing my brother. My brother had a couple games for the PS1. Like I played a little bit of Ark the Lad and Doom and Mortal Kombat. I remember playing those. And my mother got me a game called Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. That was kind of cool. And then I remember playing the shit out of Final Fantasy Tactics. That game was awesome. And then me and my brother would play the fighting game Digimon Rumble Arena, which is basically a fighting game for Digimon. We would play that after school because school sucked ass, so we had to play something after school to get our minds off of how bad it was. And then I remember playing a game called Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. That game was cool. And of course, I played Pajama Sam 3. That was cool. I remember playing that, Bugs Life and Casper, the usual games that your parents would buy you for like a PS1. I remember playing those. And as you guys know, since I was like the autistic weirdo in elementary school, I didn't go over to friends' houses to play or borrow their games. Now, I did go to my neighbor's house. His name was Peter. He had a PS1 as well, and he had Crash Team Racing. And I loved Crash Team Racing. My parents didn't get for me, but I played it at his house. That game was freaking amazing. He hated the game because I kept kicking his ass at it. He's like, let's play this snowboarding game, which I didn't give 2 craps about. We eventually had a falling off because our family had a border collie, which was very protective because my parents would let us run around outside in the backyard. We had like a gated fence. And my border collie snapped at him and he said, "We're not friends anymore." And yeah, the neighbors were assholes. They left their dogs out in the freaking a kennel for 12 hours a day, like in a kennel outside with the beating sun. And I was playing with my action figures, mimicking like a scene. Like me and my brother were like reenacting like scenes that we did in like games on the PS1 and PC where I was like playing StarCraft. We loved StarCraft till our mother was like, "There's gore in that. That game is banned." So I was recreating that outside and making noises. And my neighbors called the cops on me. They called the cops on a child, and they wanted to press charges against the child. That's how fucked up they were. That shit blew my mind. Like, I was a kid, and I didn't know what was going on. So that's kind of how we had our falling out with that. Yeah, but the Game Boy was dope. And that was our PS1 died in 2002. That's when it died. I played about 23 games on it, and my Game Boy Color, I still have it now. I have like 10 games. I had 10 games for it. I still have it to this day. It got me through some rough times. Eventually, my parents decided to pull me from elementary school and homeschool me because the services there were terrible and life there was kind of ass, as you guys know, for people like me. And yeah, funny story about that. And then we were homeschooled, so like I would probably go to school at 10 a.m. and then we just study for classes and with that. And my parents got me like a bearded dragon. And the reason I love lizards so much is because I play Gex and I see all these lizards. We got a bearded dragon. And eventually, my parents made a deal with me where they're like, okay, we'll get you a secret gift every year for Christmas. So for like 8 years, I got 8 different lizards, and it was just awesome. And so what happened is if anything bad happened, like I remember one time, I got revenge on my dad because he literally gave the kids in my neighborhood away. He gave away my video games and my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He's like, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are a tool of the devil. So I got revenge on him by pissing in a corner in the house somewhere. And I blamed the dog. And they figured it was me or my brother. and then I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna get my Secret Santa gift. I won't get my Secret Santa gift for games and a lizard. And so my brother would take the blame for me so I could get what I wanted. So at one point I eventually got 8 lizards and like a lot of old retro games for my PS1 and Game Boy, and eventually I got later systems for that. So yeah, that was funny. Yeah, we lived in a little neighborhood, but yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. The things we did. And don't think I'm one of those social rejects from elementary school. Didn't hang out with friends. I did invite people over for sleepovers, and we would play Digimon Rumble and just see who could be who. And oh yeah, that was good. As for PC gaming back then, I was basically playing StarCraft heavy, and we were playing games I recently bought on Steam again. The games I bought on that was Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish, Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, and Spy Fox. Those were some amazing point-and-click adventure games, and they had some really good artistic art styles. And as a kid, as I went back and played them today, like I played them last year, I went back and played them again, and I beat them in like 30 minutes, and that mind fucked me because as a kid, it took me hours upon hours and hours of doing it, and I guess time is like viewed differently for that, but yeah, like that was a thing. And I remember going on the school bus with my Game Boy, and the kids would always just like I was like a nice kid. Like I was nice. I tried to be nice to people. But you know, kids can be jerks. So I would try to see nice to people, they'd get up and move. Or they said, "Oh, I gotta sit with my friend or something." They might have an excuse. And I whip out Pokemon Gold and I check out my Pokedex. I'll be like, "What do I got so far?" And and like that one bully I told to cheat to, I said, "All right, why don't we settle this on the playground? You and me one-on-one." So I brought my Game Boy with me. I brought the cable with me. I said, "All right, let's settle this right now." I pulled up on his ass with 6 Ho-Ohs and Sacred Fired his entire team using that clone glitch game. And he got smoked. And he's like, "Okay, face me without using legendaries." And I brought 6 Gyarados and kicked his ass again. And that was back when Earthquake and Hyper Beam was the shit. That was back when Earthquake and Hyper Beam was like that. Like if you had Pokemon, if you were the master of the Pokemon, I know I never punched a guy. If you were the Pokemon master on the playground, you got the respect that way. Even if like it was like rejection in some way, they knew who boss was. They knew who the boss was. They knew who the boss was. And what was fucked up about this school is the buses would drop, like literally. This is weird. This is weird. So how like the buses drop the kids off, right? And they go in the school and whatever. If the buses would drop us elementary schoolers off, right? Kids ages like 5 and up or whatever, they drop us off at the elementary school. And all of us little kids, like there would be no teachers looking at us. Nobody would be supervising these kids. We'd have to wait at the door for 30 minutes in the freezing cold until one of the custodians unlocked the door. That's how fucked up the school was. Like, that's how fucked up the freaking, oh God, that was how fucked up the freaking, the school was. So I would have my Game Boy in hand. I would literally have my gloves on, mashing the buttons, because back then I'd mash the A button just to get through the tutorial of the Pokemon game. Mashing the buttons just to get through that. And I would go up to the window and make a face and say, "Let me in, it's cold." Because my Game Boy screen would start freezing. Like, it get ice forming on the thing. Like it doesn't make sense. Like, you're dropping kids off and you're leaving them outside with no parental supervision for 30 minutes until the school opens. That doesn't make fucking sense. And the parents didn't give a fuck. The parents did not care, or they didn't care. Now, I was living near Rochester at the time, so maybe that's why these conditions were the way they were. But yeah, like first grade was good. When I got to second grade, that was horrible. Second grade was horrible. Teachers didn't give teachers didn't give a fuck. Teachers did not care. They did not care at all. But yeah, that was the worst thing. And what really got me was, what was the point of music class and chorus? Like the teacher would have all the kids singing, and I would just pretend to lip sync or whatever it's called, lip sync. Yeah, lip sync. And I'd be lip syncing and just strategizing in my head. I'm like, all right, how am I gonna put these boys in the playground down? How am I gonna beat their asses in Pokemon or something? That's what I was thinking of. That was on my mind. That was the whole thing on my mind. That was the whole thing on my mind. Yeah. I wasn't one of those weirdo kids who ate worms or something to avoid the bullies or whatever. Like this, they just kept to their way. Like I said, if you were the master of the Pokemon games, the bullies respected you. That was it. That's all I had to do. Nowadays, you can't do it. It's not that easy anymore. But yeah, not easy anymore. The lunch food was okay. My mother always packed my lunch. I just sit at a table, whip out my Game Boy, and I'll be like, all right, let's go. Let's get it. And remember the kids wouldn't pull up during lunch break to battle you. They wait till the playground. They always waited till the playground to pull up that game on your ass. They would always wait. But yeah, that was for sure. That was for sure. The early 90s for me was interesting. Eventually, when I was homeschooled, I did meet this one kid who was he was a bit older than me. I was probably like 6 at the time. He was probably 11. He lived down the street from me, and he liked to play Yu-Gi-Oh like a lot. And I had my Game Boy. I had Yu-Gi-Oh. What is it called? I had Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. Oh, that game was so fucking good. You got Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. And I would go to him and his grandmother's house. Oh yeah, the national pledge. We had to sit up for that shit. I just lip synced that thing. But I went to his aunt's house. My parents didn't really care. They're like, okay, this, they were like, whatever. Unless they actually see like they saw the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like that's a tool of the devil, that sort of shit. So I would go to his house just so I could hide the Yu-Gi-Oh cards from my parents, so they wouldn't try to confiscate them for me. I had to watch Yu-Gi-Oh in secret on the TV. So we would come up with strategies that I could use in the duel stories on the Game Boy game. We didn't particularly play Pokemon, but he had the Nintendo 64, and that's when I was introduced to the Nintendo 64 because his grandmother had it. I was looking at the controller and I was like, what the hell is this? Because I remember I was used to the PS1 controller, which was godly compared to the N64 controller. He's like, no, you'll get used to it. Play some Mario. And I said, I am not playing on that console with that dog shit controller. I can't do it. Like if the controller sucks ass, I can't play it. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. That's why I wasn't into Mario as a kid, because I was like, I don't care. I don't care. The controller was horrible. I was a kid. Remember, I was a kid. I was a little 6-year-old. I had tiny little hands. I couldn't even get my hand around that controller. I couldn't even grip it. But yeah, like, and that just eventually he just moved away, and that was that. And then I went. Me and my brother would always go to this corner store that was down. Like we could ride our bikes because we would ride our bikes down to this corner store to get like snacks if we saved up our allowance money. And these kids, like there was a group of kids. They didn't go to my elementary school. They pulled up on us, and they were like overly friendly. There was like 3 girls, 3 guys. Nice guys. They're nice guys. But I didn't. But here's what happened though. This is kind of fucked up. But these were the kids that my dad gave my Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Game Boy games to. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna befriend them and steal my shit back. So that's what I did. I befriended them, stole my shit back, and when they found out that I got what was rightfully mine back, they were like, oh, we're not friends anymore. That was like the only female friend, like the only friends I had. We play Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We would talk about whatever. We played the games, but do you guys think I'm in the wrong for stealing from those kids that I befriended to get the stuff that's rightfully mine back? That my dad gave to them. That was my stuff. And like I would tell them, I said, yo, that's my shit. And they're like, no, it's not. It's my stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. It's my stuff. But, I don't know. Maybe I was in the wrong. I don't know. I don't think I was in the wrong. Because technically it's not stealing if I'm claiming what's rightfully mine is mine. Especially as a kid who doesn't know right from wrong for certain issues. But yeah, this dude lived in like it looked like he lived in a group home because there was like 4 old people in there. He's like, this is my grandmother, this is my great grandmother, and my great grandmother. I was like, Jesus, they must have been breeding like rats in there or something. As a kid, I didn't give a damn. I was just like, whatever, let's duel. Throw your deck down and let's duel. That's what I did. That's back with and this dude, I did trade him some cards. He had my one friend before he moved. The 11-year-old, he had like the freaking God cards. They were like knockoffs, but as a kid, I didn't give a damn. I was like, I'm going to use them. And my brother would play in the attic with me. And we would like build these decks up and then put them in the Game Boy game. And be like, all right, let's put Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories and build some decks for the game. That way we can take them to school and show the other kids if they ever want to duel me. Me and my brother always went to separate schools, so we never had any interactions there. But yeah, being a disabled person definitely does get definitely did feel a bit I have suffered through some prosecutions in my life. I know I'm not trying to cry a tear or anything, but I mean I'm not trying to say my life's easier than someone who lives in the ghetto and is a black man. No. I lived in a religious household. School sucked ass, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Doesn't go through the easy times. But gaming definitely helped me get through the traumas. They definitely helped a lot. Especially when the teachers, you're in a special ed classroom, you have 3 fucking aides and none of them give a damn about their job because they're probably being paid minimum wage anyways or whatever the lowest wage is. And if they see on a game, they're like, get rid of that. Get rid of that system you're holding right there. I have Tourette's and some other things. Yeah. So, and I was in the 1st grade. My teacher had like one of those sticks where he pointed at the bulletin board. For some reason, I thought it was cool because it reminded me of what was that game? I played a game where this dude would point a stick at stuff. Oh, it reminded me of Digimon in Digimon World, where the dude would point the stick at stuff. And I told my teacher, I said, hey, can I have that stick? And he gave it to me after I graduated the 1st grade. And I went to the 2nd grade, and a bitch of a teacher took it from me and said, you're not getting this back. And I didn't even cause any disruption with the stick. Yeah, that pissed me off. If you guys want to watch, listen to it from the beginning. You can go back and listen to the beginning when I rant about my disability. Like, kids avoid me. Kids sit at the table. Okay, so maybe I over exaggerated. I didn't battle people on the playground a lot. Remember, okay, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. Keep it simple. I was battling people on the playground in Pokemon for my safety. If I didn't do it, I was gonna get my ass beat. These bullies at my school, they didn't give a damn if you were disabled. They'd still kick your ass. So I was basically in a fight or flight in the school, and I was trying to survive the whole time I was at this elementary school. And the only way to survive was to beat these kids in Pokemon. The only reason I was making up these strategies and working so diligently and hard was so I didn't get a swirly every morning at school. Yeah, so yeah, so I kept to myself. I kept my head down. I tried to, I couldn't be normal, but I tried to do that. But shit was rough. People say you had a normal upbringing. My parents were religious nuts in some cases. If they didn't like something, they would take it from me. I'll sum it up for you guys. My neighbors were assholes. My neighbors mistreated the dogs. When I tried to speak out against it, they called the cops on a 5-year-old. And they threatened me with police as a 5-year-old. The schools sucked ass. They didn't treat me fairly. And in order to survive day-to-day life over there, I had to do what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do. I didn't do any weirdo shit. I just had to do what I had to do. I had to show the bullies that I was to be respected and left alone. I just wanted to be left alone. Even to this day, there's people who try to fuck up my life. I always say this, as Next Gen 720 says, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I just want to be left alone. But people don't want to leave me alone. They just want to be assholes. And it's funny, the same dude who's been harassing me for years and years, he's back to dislike botting my videos again. So if you guys go on my videos, it'll say 1 view, 10 dislikes. That makes no sense. And people probably blame Jimmy for that, but yeah, Jimmy, yeah, it's not Jimmy. He's good. He's good for now. He's good. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the PS1 and GameCube. We'll do another episode of Life Behind the Joy-Con, guys. I'm gonna go through each console generation. I just started off with the PS1 and Game Boy. Those were my systems. But yeah, that mom and pop shop where I got my Game Boy from, we always went to rent the movies there. And my favorite movies, oh yeah, remember this. If you guys ever seen Goosebumps, man, those movies scared me as a kid. They didn't scare me as a kid, but they were like clean creepy. They were clean creepy. I do have a 4K monitor. I don't use it. If you guys want to donate in the super chat, that'd be appreciated. Any bit helps. Currently fighting some legal battles, but we'll get to that towards the end of the saga. Yeah, I remember I got Goosebumps. I read the books as a kid. Those are crazy books. And this ties into the games because there was a Goosebumps game on the PC. And it was so good for some reason. Like, it was a point and click Goosebumps game on the PC. And I remember playing it, and it was good. It was good. It's like unmask the villains and figure it out. The game was hard though. Like, the game as a kid, I got pissed off. Like, I got mad. This got me boiling. But yeah, Gex was a huge inspiration. I was always going to my grandfather's place. My relatives are very nice to me. I never had any issues with them. I remember going my parents would always drop me off at my grandfather's house. Back when we lived over there. And this is back when I remember my brother, that shit was old. My grandfather passed away this year, so it's sad. I'm still grieving for that. But anyways, to be a positive note, Gex is I'm gonna get a tattoo of Gex on my arm as an honorary thing in my grandfather's honor. So, man fought in World War II. He's a hard veteran. So I think this wraps up my first episode, guys. Leave me any trails. Let me leave any comments down below. We'll go into the next console generation and my childhood going into middle school for that one. So this is your boy Holy One out.